Am I the asshole for pointing out the historical inaccuracies of my girlfriend's erotic writing? My 23M girlfriend, 20F. Let me use her old computer while mine is broken, and I found an old archive written by her when she was 16. It is a long story about a maid in the antebellum South that has a romantic affair with the man of the house. It is not as overtly sexual as you may be thinking. It has sex, mostly towards the ending, but it is mainly romantic and very emotional. The maid is clearly meant to be a version of my girlfriend. Everything was fine for me until the part when they arrived to a train station. The maid wanted to leave because she couldn't bear for their romance to be hidden anymore. The man was following her to try to convince her to stay. The issue is that I found the general representation of the station, and, later in the story, the trains themselves, to be full of anachronisms. I am a train enthusiast and know a lot about the history of rail transportation in the United States. So, I talked to my girlfriend about it, but she got upset. She has been saying I shouldn't have read the story because it was a personal thing from when she was a teenager. She is also mad my reaction was something as superficial as the level of train accuracy. Am I the asshole? You are the asshole for snooping and for being one of those well actually people. Edit. Thanks for all the awards. I personally wouldn't be able to masturbate to something if during the sex scene the upholstery was described as plum if I knew full well that on that model of train the seats were royal blue. You are the asshole and a nosy one too. A real keeper. Edit. Thank you for the awards, friends. It's now clear that my advice is only popular when I'm being a dick. Am more than okay with this. You are the asshole. It's old writing, you snooped, and now you're trying to correct her on something she wrote for herself when she was 16. Quit it. Since she didn't ask your opinion or even consent to you reading it and it's an old story, so who cares? Yeah, you are the asshole. BWAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHWhat made you think she wanted you to read this? What made you think she wanted notes on trains? Can you describe exactly how the medium of erotic fiction is enhanced by getting the trains exactly right? You are the asshole and are giving me Sheldon Cooper vibes. Train enthusiast who doesn't know tact and privacy. Eyes. You are the asshole. What a hill to die on. Your trains aren't right. You are the asshole. First, you shouldn't be snooping in other people's personal writings. Second, no one gives a fuck about train stations. The story isn't about trains. Am I the asshole for not wanting to name our kids after Minecraft? I, F34, am pregnant with twin boys and my husband, M34, told me that he was dead set on naming our sons, Notch, and Jeb. I know most of you are probably unaware, but these are the names of two of the people who created Minecraft. My husband is a big Minecraft fan and builds stuff on the game a lot and has Minecraft posters. He even said he wants to play Minecraft with his sons. I told my husband that I want to give our children regular names, not after Minecraft because they are not objects, and my husband got really defensive about it, saying that he should be able to choose because he is their father, and I never gave any name suggestions. I will never name my children after Minecraft because I don't want them to get bullied and feel like it's dehumanizing to name them after a game. I told my husband that I'd rather get a divorce than name our kids after Minecraft, and he got really angry and raised his voice. I'm pregnant and my hormones maybe made me really emotional because I started crying. A few hours after that, we calmed down and I asked him again and he said he will for sure name the kids, Notch, and Jeb. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole. That's grounds for a divorce 100%. Especially considering Notch is a pretty extreme incel transphobe. It'd be like naming your kids Gary and Glitter. Plus he's 34, he needs to get a grip. Enjoying Minecraft is cool. Obsessing over it at 20 plus is kinda. He needs better hobbies. Not the asshole. Kids are not hobby accessories. Not the asshole. Your husband is being ridiculous. Are you sure he isn't 13? Furthermore, Notch is a white nationalist who was banned from attending any Minecraft events for being homophobic, transphobic, racist, sexist, and for threatening violence against people who don't agree with him. He's also into QAnon. Does your husband not know that? Or does he know and doesn't care? Not the asshole. If I've learned anything from Reddit, it's that children will almost always end up hating the franchise they're named after. Harry Potter, Minecraft, whatever. Not to mention that they'll most likely be bullied because of it. It's a little worrying that your husband is acting like he can name your kids whatever he wants and you have no say. Not the asshole, but you need to come up with other names to propose. He had his you knocked them down. Which I 110% agree with, and I'm sure your unborn children do as well. Now you need to come up with suggestions. 10% chance he'll be okay with it. So, be careful you can't go with something you hate. 90% chance, he won't like it. Then you say okay, we compromise. Your names, that you just picked, are out. His names are out. Come up with new names. Force him to do the same, etc. He's being an asshole, but you need to start coming up with other names to discuss with him. Why not name them after characters in Minecraft? They're semi-normal names. Alex, Jesse, Lucas, Steve, Nell. Notch's real name is Marcus, which is nice. Edit, I know he's a trash human, but his first name is better than flipping Notch. Honestly, tell Hubs he can have an opinion, but if he's going to be this insistent, you can block him from being in the birthing suite and from going near the paperwork. That would be a last resort, but hospitals are there for the mum. If the dad's not being a good support person, then the mum can, and should, boot him out. Not the asshole. Your husband sounds like a child who is naming pets. Marrying a 15 years old. Am I the asshole for expecting my sister to reimburse me for my son's suit? I, 38M. I'm a father to 2 boys, Andrew 14M and Marshall 12M. Yesterday my parents held an Easter gathering at their house. Me, my parents, and my 4 siblings and their kids were all invited. Marshall told me that he was planning on wearing what he wore to church to my parents' place, a suit and tie. My wife and I reminded Marshall that everyone was gonna be dressed more casually, but he said he didn't care. I wasn't too surprised, because Marshall has always been kind of a sharp dresser. All of my siblings and their kids were there when we arrived, including my sister, Sarah, 44F, who I never really got along with. Her twins, both 16M, and daughter, 14F, were also there. Sarah spoils her kids rotten, and they've always been super bratty because of that. Every family gathering they're always pretty rude to their cousins and they always act super entitled. Unsurprisingly, Sarah's kids were relentlessly picking on Marshall for choosing to wear a suit when almost everyone else was dressed more casually. I could tell it really bothered Marshall, but he did his best to not let it get to his head. He did his best to ignore them, and he just hung out with Andrew and his cousins that he gets along with. At around 4:30, we all gathered for dinner outside. Sarah's kids kept picking on all of their cousins the whole time, but especially Marshall, because of his choice to wear a suit. Again, he did his best to ignore them, but I still felt really bad. For dessert, my mom made strawberry and chocolate milkshakes for everyone in 2 large blenders that she had. When everyone there was done, there was still about a half blender of chocolate milkshake and a quarter blender of strawberry. Sarah's kids decided it would be funny to dump them on Marshall and ruin his suit, so that's exactly what they did. Poor Marshall was super embarrassed afterwards and ran away crying. My wife went to go chase him and calm him down. I had enough at that point, so I grabbed Andrew and left. I sent Sarah the dry cleaning bill and told her that I am expecting her to pay it, and that if the dry cleaners can't fix Marshall's suit, then she will have to reimburse me for the suit, along with the dress shirt and tie, as well, because she acted like it was no big deal that her kids decided to bully Marshall for no reason. She then told me that she doesn't think that she should have to reimburse me and that I'm a terrible father for having my son wear a suit to a casual gathering. I blew up at her, telling her that she has no business in saying how my son should dress and that she needs to learn how to discipline her bratty teenagers and that she needs to stop spoiling them. I do feel like that may have been uncalled for. My parents and all of my other siblings are all on my side, believing that Sarah should reimburse me, but they do believe that I should have had Marshall dress more casually. I disagree though, because there's nothing wrong with Marshall wanting to look his best. Am I the asshole? Edit. I'm not gonna leave any more comments for now, but thank you all for commenting. I saw a lot of comments saying how I should have directly intervened more and prevented the bullying, which I failed to do, so my wife and I apologized to Marshall for that. I'm also gonna teach both Andrew and Marshall how to defend themselves if something like this happens again, as well as stand up for them more. I have also told my parents and all of my other siblings that I will not be attending any more family gatherings if Sarah and her kids are invited. That is until she pays for the suit and her kids' behaviors improves. I'm also probably gonna go NC with her for a while. Not the asshole. Marshall wasn't dressed inappropriately, it was a family party on a major holiday, not a hike through the Grand Canyon. His cousins ruined his clothes on purpose. It wasn't an accident, they wanted to embarrass him and mess up his clothes. Their parents absolutely should pay to fix the problem, and if they were decent parents they would make their kids earn back every cent. Not the asshole. It doesn't matter what Marshall was wearing, although in an ideal world, she'd take a step back and ask herself if she really wants to insinuate he was asking for it, based on how he was dressed. Her kids deliberately wrecked his clothes. She needs to take responsibility for that. Edit. Everyone sucks here except for Marshall. Parents too weak to intervene and just let 16-yo bullies pick on a 12-yo that just wanted to look nice. SMH, it must suck to be Marshall and feel abandoned to his tormentors. Your sister sucks and so do her kids. Poor Marshall. Info. Did you just look at 2 16-yo bully your 12-yo without intervening? I am confused as to how the situation escalated, and why it feels like nobody said anything. I hope we aren't glossing over the fact that you saw your kid being picked on and just watched? YTA for that. Not the asshole, but your sister probably needs to save up money for attorney's fees for her future felons, so she probably can't afford a dry cleaning bill. Not the asshole, and don't go over there and expose your kids to the bratty bullying. Not after she pays, not in the future, never. They shouldn't have to put up with this. That's a serious thing in most jurisdictions. They'd better learn now not to do shit like that, or the next time they try that with a non-cousin, the consequences will be way more serious. Not the asshole. A general family event should have the flex to allow kids to dress however they choose, and the discipline to prevent kids from bullying each other. Your family gathering appears to have had neither. Where are your other siblings in calling out Sarah's kids' behaviors while they're abusing Marshall? Or are they just sitting glad that it's not their kid being picked on this time? Honestly, your sister sucks. Yes, she should pay to clean or replace the suit. No, you are not out of line calling her kids undisciplined and spoiled. When I was a kid, we would never have been permitted to behave that way to a family member who dressed up for any event. Your sister is a dick. Love the username. No one should be shamed for looking snazzy. Not the asshole. Am I the asshole for calling my sister a crazy, delusional woman? Throwaway account. My wife thinks I should have handled the situation more diplomatically. My wife, Leah, has a few visible tattoos on her arm and many others that aren't quite seen when she's in regular clothes. She's far from a full sleeve, but she likes them and has many plans to get more in the future. My sister, Katie, called me in the early morning distraught and frantic, begging me to watch her son, 6, and her daughter, 4, for the weekend. I said yes right away and she dropped off her children and left. To be honest, I thought that I would be the last person Katie would call in an emergency. Katie hates Leah. Not for any justifiable reason, but because Leah has thug tattoos, as she describes. Katie believes that a woman with tattoos is a whore, and will only corrupt a good home. Of course, because of these comments, I choose not to speak to my sister often. Leah and I took my niece and nephew to the playground, where my nephew fell and scraped his knee a little. As expected, he was in tears for a few minutes, but Leah cheered him up, played with him, and placed a Hello Kitty Band-Aid on the cut. It was a very small accident. When Katie came to pick them up, the first thing that she noticed was the Band-Aid covering my nephew's knee. She immediately stormed over to Leah, who was bringing over some tea for Katie, and accused her of deliberately hurting her child. Leah was very confused, and I tried to explain the manner in which my nephew got the Band-Aid, but Katie wasn't listening. She kept blaming Leah, and only Leah, for not taking better care of her children. Things began to quickly escalate. Leah was trying to get Katie's kids to pack their things so that they could get out of there as fast as possible, but Katie kept threatening to call the police on Leah, accusing her of very serious crimes. At the moment, it didn't look like these were empty threats either. She was fishing in her purse for her phone, and Leah and I were confused, but worried. At this point, I was getting fed up and essentially yelled at Katie to stop acting like a crazy, delusional person, and leave my house at once. She was upset, but left 5 minutes later. Of course, Leah is happy that I did that but wishes I didn't yell, especially in front of the children. My family has taken Katie's side, as it's only a mother's instinct to want to protect her children. Not the asshole. Now you know how your whole family stands. What did your nephew need protection from? Gravity. Not the asshole. I think that needs to be the last favor you do for Katie. Maybe even the last time you speak to her. What she threatened is incredibly serious. Obviously there was no fault on your wife's part or yours, but depending on what industry your wife works in, even the slightest rumor of those allegations can be damaging. Especially if your other family is backing your sister's false claims. Also, it may be a mother's instinct to protect her children, but it is also a husband's, wife's instinct to protect their spouse. So you had just as much of a reason to yell. My guess is that your family is also not a fan of your wife and has no problem with anything that could cause problems for her or your relationship. Not the asshole at all. Making a huge deal out of a scraped knee on a 6-year-old boy who has been to the playground, appropriately cleaned and treated with a bandage, is delusional in and of itself. Blaming your wife for what? Deliberately scraping his knee? Seriously? Just because she has tattoos? Yeah, you said nothing inaccurate or undeserved. Sheesh. When my son was 6 at the playground, he managed an entire forehead gash that needed to be glued together and left a scar he still has 10 years later. Without any help from me at all. He was playing tag, forgot to look where he was running, and ran smack into a metal pole. Scraped knee? PFFT. Amateurs. Not the asshole. Tell the rest of your family that they need to get a reality check. Katie was harassing your wife for no justifiable reason. Good on you for defending her. Not the asshole. Having tattoos doesn't make a person bad. It is what is inside, and it sounds like your sister is the one that has that problem, not your wife. Maybe you shouldn't have yelled in front of the kids, but you were standing up for your wife to your irrational sister. In my opinion, this stems from you sister being a tad off kilter. Congrats for standing up for your wife. Good luck. Not the asshole. And #X200B. Never babysit for that asshole again. She is threatening your wife. Go no contact with her. Not the asshole. Maybe a bit undiplomatic, but you didn't go straight to yelling either, and I firmly believe she would not have listened to you if you didn't yell at her to leave. This is not even a mother's instinct, either. Katie is just a small-minded person and wanted an excuse to yell at Leah. Not the asshole. Your sister sounds like a crazy, delusional woman.